And next we're joined by well, I could call it a duet. It's almost like modern talking. Oleg and Roma, will you come here, please? Oh, it looks like I won't have a microphone. Do you want to sit next to pizza? Well, actually, you can sit here, don't worry. Because you are supposed to talk, so you will use the microphone, and maybe I will just dance. But you
can share the we can share the microphone, so you can use.
Oh yeah, okay, let's do it. So it looks like you're gonna tell us something about snakes. Please continue.
Hi guys, nice to meet you. My name is Oleg. This is Roma. We would like to tell you about something about Python dependencies. Today we're going to start with.
And sir, may I ask you to shout at them? Does the microphone work, by the way?
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe you should just keep it close. Yeah.
Oh. Okay. Should I repeat or not? We can. Oh, hi guys. Sorry. Hi guys. My name is Oleg.
My name is Roman.
Today we're going to tell you about Python dependencies. We're going to start with a little bit of Python history.
Yeah, and as you can see, it starts in year number 2000. Not exactly, but we will talk about the history from this year, because this time Python these two tools came to Python environment, Python community, and these two tools was added to make Python developers build their packages and distribute them. And it was pretty good idea, but there was some problem in that time, because you had to share your packages in some different ways, because there was no any index in packages, so you had to send an email maybe, or share it with your yeah, you could use ICQ for that purpose. So that's why in 2003 PyPI came, and it was a good step to distributing packages like we do now. But there was still the problem that you had to download it, and if some package has dependencies, you had to download them by your own, and if it has transitive dependencies, you have a big you had to do a huge work to install some package. So that's why setup tools and easy install had been introduced. It can use PyPI, download packages from there, and download all dependencies, and install the whole package and everything it needs. But there was still some problems, and one of them is that easy install, it's not easy uninstall. That's why I like talks now.
In this time we have opportunity to download, install your package which you need and its dependencies and transitive dependencies. But you cannot have the same package with different versions in your system. So virtualenv help you to solve this problem. Now you can divide your Python environments and have the same packages with different versions for each your project. As Roman said, easy install have no easy uninstall option. So Pip introduced to fix this problem, but it was created in 2008. But the first version of Pip became after the Pip File was created, and the Pip File is organization which maintained the Pip and virtualenv projects. So nowadays we have the situation that Pip, virtualenv, and PyP is a standard in Python world, and when you want to create some project, you use these tools. But we have some issues with creating your project. First of all, when you build something not hello world, you use some dependencies, and your dependencies have the transitive dependencies. And when you build something on your machine, it works, and you write file requirements.txt, which contains your main dependencies. But when you try to install your project on the server, or maybe on your machine in different virtualenv, you may face with issues that some of the packages in your requirements list updated and your project can crash. So there are different ways to fix this problem. First of all, you can pin all version of your main dependencies, but this cannot help you with version of transitive dependencies. Also, you can install all packages in your virtualenv and use pip freeze to fix all version of your requirements and the transitive requirements. This is also a big issue because when you need to update some of the package, this need your hands to find all packages which you need to update in big requirements.txt list. So what should we pin in requirements.txt?
Before discussing some tools that can help you with these tasks, the task of pinning all requirements, all your dependencies and versions. Let's see what actually we need to pin to remember to write down in your requirements.txt. The first thing is a package name, of course, and it's the beginning. And then the second thing is package version. It's very important to pin the package version because it can change, and you couldn't be ready to work with all versions of some library or some package you use in your project. So the next one that I would like you to pin is Python version. It's not always needed because Python versions doesn't change so frequently, so often. But sometimes when you use any any features of Python 3.8, you have to pin the version because it wouldn't work on Python of lower versions of Python. And the last one is hashes. Actually, when you set the package version, you cannot be sure that that the package is the same always because it could be changed with the package itself can be changed without changing versions, and to handle this situation, you have to pin the hashes. You can pin hashes of files that you see inside the package, and yeah, that's it. And now we're gonna talk about some tools that helps you pinning this stuff in your requirement 60, because now, as you see, it's not very easy task to write down all these things by your hand. So we come into the point when we want to have some file where direct requirements written down, and all three of dependencies. We want to compile it somehow or build it with some tools. So here the first tool games.
I have a question for you. How many people use Python in their job?
So Python people?
Oh, so it may be useful for you, and others can just see some names and yeah. Okay, the first tool to help you manage your dependencies is called Pip tools. And Pip tools is Pip compile and Pip sync. The Pip compile is a tool which help you to manage your main dependencies and all their transitive dependencies automatically. When you build some project, you write your dependencies in a file named requirements.in. So when you fix your main dependencies, you just call command pip compile, and it will produce file requirements.txt, which will contain, depends on option you used, it will contain the main dependencies, the dependencies, frozen versions. If you need, it will use hashes, and you need to commit all of these files, requirements.in and requirements.txt, in your repository. And when you need to reproduce your environment in the production, you just need to install file all dependencies from requirements.txt, and this will help you to have reproducible builds. So this tool have many options. You can build requirements.txt for many Python versions, many platform machines, and other. So when you create requirements.txt, you probably need to install it. As I said, you just need to use pip install requirements.txt, but as option, to use pipsync.
Yeah, pipsync comes with when you just want to reproduce the whole environment that you have in on some platform or on your production servers or your maybe client have. So you could have several requirements in files for several platforms for different clients maybe, and several requirements TXT files. So you can with the pipsync you can easily switch your environment from one to another, maybe to one which has PyTest for testing or some other libraries that you don't need on your server. So it could be handy to use it while you're working with all these requirements TXTs. Yeah, and of course there is some other tools that helps you working with both environments and virtual environments and requirements TXTs. So one of them is pipenv. It's the next topic.
Please remember on the steps that we have requirements.in, which contains your main dependencies, and requirements.txt, which contains all dependencies with your main dependencies and transitive dependencies. So pipenv, it's a tool which contain it probably the similar as pip compile, pip tools, but it have more opportunities. You don't need to manage your virtual end by hands. You don't need a pip. You can forget some commands like env bin activate and pipenv, as you can see on MEMS, is pip plus virtual env. So on the previous slide, I asked you to remember requirements.in and requirements.txt. Here we can see pip file instead of requirements.in and pip file.log. So pipenv uses hashes everything. It used for safety. Also, pipenv have pipenv graph util, which will show you your graph of dependencies. So pip file is a file which contains several sections. It contains source. This is URL with packages. By default, it uses PyPI, but you can choose your own repository. You can choose other indexes. You have a question?
No.
Okay. Also, pip file contains section with packages. This section should be filled by your main dependencies. Also, it contains section dev packages where you need to write some PyTests, some tools like Black, maybe I thought, which needs just for development. After that, you need to compile pipfile.log. In this file, this file will contains all dependencies with hashes, versions, and this will help you to reproduce your your virtual env. Some notes we can say about Dependencies. It may works only with one version of Python, and it can be used only for applications, not for libraries. So we can say that it kind of the same tools, Pip tools and Pipenv, but Pipenv help you manage your virtual env. So the next tool is Poetry.
Everyone likes poetry, no?
Yeah, everyone likes poetry. Next slide, please. Yeah, and what poetry does? Poetry is, as you can see, pretty much the same as Pipenv, and it can. Additionally, it can build your packages and publish them on some registry. And the difference is that it uses PyProject.toml instead of Pipenv, Pip File, yeah, and Poetry.log instead of Pip File log. The difference is not very big. I would say that switching from Pipenv to Poetry, you will not have any problems because they are very similar in using, and the thing I like Poetry more. Is that it can create a new package with some template, and this template will have not only some place where you can write your code, but also file with documentation and some template for your tests. Do you write tests? Yes, of course you do. I hope. So the PyProject. The only thing, one more thing I would like you to talk about, to think about is PyProject.toml, because it came in 2016. Yeah. With as a replacement for setup.py for simple projects. So with this file you can describe your project, and you can it could be enough for simple projects, and there you can it's supposed to be used to handle your dependencies as well, and here I mean the direct dependencies, because all transitive dependencies will be stored by Poetry itself in poetry.log. And also, if you want to use requirements.txt, it can build it for you from Poetry log, so it can store all transitive dependencies with all caches and all that stuff we mentioned before in different ways, like in Poetry log and in requirements.txt. So this is, I would say, pretty much the end of our. Yeah.
Good. And Kostya, are you still there? I'm sure you have some questions. Has he gone already? Okay. So anyone else wants to ask a question? Yes, please.
Thank you for the presentation. You noticed that Pipenv keeps hashes for everything. Does Poetry do the same?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
And I forgot to mention the PDM. PDM is the same tool, pretty much the same, but They are sure that PDM is much faster than poetry and Pip.
Any more questions from anyone? Yes, please.
I don't have enough experience developing in Python, but usually the development process is going on in the Docker. So we don't use, we don't use such tools. So what do you think about, maybe it's not really necessary? When we pin the specific version in our Docker file. So
Yeah, sure. Sure, you can use Docker files and Docker images, but it comes. These tools can be handy to use before building your images. So you can fix you can freeze all your dependencies while developing, and then use it while installing your package inside the Docker. And of course, it could be very handy if you have several Dockers, for example, for Ubuntu or for some other distributions. And in this case, you can have several requirements exe files, and it would be handy to use them while installing and packaging for different platforms.
Good. Anyone else? Any questions?
Another one. So, what do you think about legacy packages that are not used today and they are deleted, but sometimes they are needed? What do you think about this? If they are deleted nowadays?
You mentioned that you have some legacy requirements in your requirements
Yes,
file.
in legacy code somewhere.
If you have some legacy code which never be used, you just you can remove this package from your requirements file. But you can remove your code, legacy code. So anyway, you can remove your legacy requirements from requirements.in or from Pip File or from project terminal, and rebuild your log file, requirements.txt or Pip File log and other. And these tools help you to it will remove these dependencies and their dependencies too. Also, I forget to tell about it. These tools help you to find collision in versions. For example, you have package A and package B. They requires package C, but they requires different versions of package C. In this case, these tools will tell you that you have a problem and you need to manage this by hands. You probably need to update package A or package B to remove collision in dependencies. So these tools are very helpful, and I hope you will use some of them.
Thank you.
Great. Anyone else? Any questions? Oh, thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
There are many of you here, so I won't shake your hands. Let's just have a picture. It's like, sounds like this. Thanks.